Welcome to the video. On the spiritual path, no matter which kind you choose, discernment is a very important part of the foundation. And something that gets overlooked is that discernment has much more to do with how you interact with the world around you and yourself versus making choices. Hi, if we've never met before, my name is Farron, and welcome to My Changing Reality, where we speak about art and consciousness, and sometimes art and consciousness together, and the human in between. Creating a discerning perspective takes time. And it really has a lot more to do with the methods that you employ to interact with what's going on around you versus choosing A or B or figuring out what resonates with you or any of those other things. What you're doing is creating space within you that a place where you feel the most connected. So it's so sounds so corny, connecting with the connection, but what you do is create a space within you where you feel the most connected, and then you figure out how to spend more and more time there. So eventually, this is your operating system, the method, or not the method, the place where you expand from. Outwardly, what this looks like is somebody that is taking really good care of their body as best as they can, eating the best food, breathing well, paying attention to the life around them in a way that they feel connected and, immersed in the place that they are in. And I know that that sounds like a flip because I just said it's a place within you, but because people are so comfortable with that place within themselves, it outwardly looks as if they're comfortable with what's going on, in a sense. Calm, cool, collected, but not from an ego perspective, from a place where you are acting from your soul's deepest purpose. And then with all of this going on from a personal level, internally, we also have what society is giving us. And this is often framed as nostalgia. And this can truly interfere with what resonates for us. Nostalgia can get in the way of subtle lessons and things that are coming in from the environment that may go overlooked because they're subtle, right? But we get tapped into this emotional complex when it comes to the memory or how we feel about the memory. The way we see the world is also the same view we are giving ourselves when it comes to our memory and our experience. Memory and nostalgia is a very difficult place to use for spiritual advancement. And advancement isn't the greatest word. Expansion is the word that I like to use, but I feel as though that's also starting to become a bit unclear. It can get in the way of subtle lessons because it messes with what we think is familiar, or sometimes it messes with how things feel, but it's usually how we think about things. So think about something that brings you nostalgia in a positive way versus a negative way. Does that have to do with your experience with an item, a person, a color, a time period in your life? It can be so many different things. For the most part, we're walking around in everybody else's nostalgia. And I understand that styles do this and music does this, like things come back around. That's what my mom always used to say. Everything comes back around. But basing all of our experience, our what we take in from our experiences on nostalgia can be extremely limiting because of whatever we have that's tied to it, but also it's limited to this lifetime. Your parents' clothes have come back around already. Your grandparents' clothes have come back around already. That is a very compressed amount of time for an eternal soul to be, limiting their energetic experiences to. think about what you miss out because you always go to that thing your grandmother used to do or say. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with your Nana. Totally not saying that. But my point is there's a lot more stuff out there for us to learn and develop from. Things that have shaped your personality, your identity, how you interact with the people around you, how you interact with your family, and how you interact with yourself. So nostalgia isn't inherently a bad thing. But if you're running all of society on that, what's going on elsewhere? If we're all in this little bubble or big giant bubble, whatever you want to call it, what else is going on? That's something we need to think about. Actually, we don't need to think about it because we already have the answer to that. What we need to do is empower ourselves to know that we can make a difference, and on the spiritual path, making a difference, taking those little actions is going to give you the best, most rooted, discerning ability that you won't even need to think about it anymore. That's something I feel gets a little bit overlooked because people have called, self-work selfish. But I think a lot of people were pushed out into service a little bit too soon. And that right there is an issue because that's part of the bubble. Do this thing we say. This is how it works. When in fact, taking care of yourself first, getting your head straight as you can get it. I mean, I'm an artist. I'm not a linear thinker. I'm an intuitive. I'm definitely not a linear thinker. I also channel artwork. So look, you don't have to look like anybody else at all. You don't have to have anybody's vision of how you look be a part of you. But if you are going to try to help people be better at themselves, you need to give it to you first. Seems to make sense, right? I think that's like they say, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. But right now, the mask is already on. You might not realize it. Just hold on to that for a moment. If you think you're acting within somebody else's thought process, you probably are. Star culture, any of that stuff. You're inside some bubble, as we've been talking about. But what's really happening is you're operating by somebody else's standard. You are not taking yourself into consideration enough, which is blocking the discernment factor when it comes to important moments in your life. This is similar to nostalgia. If you are only doing things the way things used to be done, then there's no growth. These things are dynamic. Yoga is dynamic. Shamanism is dynamic. These things move, change, and grow with the period that we're in. That's why they last throughout the ages. Staying in place creates dogma. We don't want to live by dogma because that's how you end up inside a bubble and working for somebody that you don't care about and doing things that just take you further and further away from your soul, your purpose, yourself. And then what good does that do? That doesn't give the earthly development a chance to even give you a seed to plant. You don't need to be given a seed. You have all that is already there. It's just you place it figuratively, and then you water it, the compost, all the things. But you don't need to find the seed. It's inside you. You need to get rid of the stuff that's in the way of seeing it. This is where the discernment comes from. So the 50s toaster your grandmother left you, that's not the problem. All this other stuff is. It's not really a problem. Again, this is the way we use a language. It's that it's become unhelpful. It's that we missed some stuff that was going on during whatever period, the 50s, the 60s, whatever it is. And now all of that's been uncovered. And some people are a little afraid. And I don't mean to be demeaning. I say that with as much love as I can. I understand the fear of change. The thing is we're already changed. We're just trying to look back at something that we can't go back to anymore. Consider what is outside the bubble. The earth, the sun, your soul, even though it's inside you and you're inside the bubble. Just your access point. You don't have to pop the bubble, although we all want to kind of pop it. We don't need to pop it. We need to take care of ourselves first, and then that will not have the support that it is stealing anymore from us. I'm going to read a little bit from my journal. So we're talking about nostalgia and discernment. This is another part of how people can be held in place by an unknown force, and precisely why creating a connection to the subtlemost part of you is so integral. It's beyond all of this. When people overreact around you, and they will in the upcoming years, you will have this place to access within you. You'll have a place to check in with. This is the part that has to be cultivated, and this is why. Because as we move forward, things are going to get weird. We already know this. So what's the thing that we need to do? We need to hold the line. Well, how do you do that? Well, we need to be able to check in with ourselves and not freak out. I hate to put it that way. Things could be happening. They're going to be different everywhere, right? Right now, where we are in all of these huge changes is just the beginning. We're very far along, making big steps, creating the foundations of foundations. All we really need is more people reacting to what's going on with love and solutions. We all know these will shift and change, the possible solutions. But the point is more around taking actions rooted in love. Getting started now will prepare you for the years to come. But in particular, the next few months, we'll be seeing a lot happen. And the more of us choosing to act in love, looking towards true unity, even in the most simple moments alone with yourselves, the stronger the bridge will be for people to follow you onto. Not as you as the leader, but as you, the believer. The best way to bring the love of your past, that nostalgia, is by bringing yourself and all of that goodness from those moments and those memories just inside of you. Bring it forward with your love, all without needing to try and remember it all. It's there in your heart. Not as the leader, but as the believer. Thank you for listening. Please let me know if you have any questions. And I will be following up on this topic on the podcast. I love you. Go live your life.